So it is no secret right now that the Richmond Football Club are in for a massive 2024 trade period and free agency. Again, I've spoken about it more on this channel than I've literally seen my dad in my lifetime. That's how much content there is to talk about when it does come to the Tigers. And pretty fortunate for myself and other Richmond fans or AFL fans, I guess, in general, who are just watching this video and are curious about what the Tigers are going to do next, is we have a new massive update that goes over basically everything happening with the Tigers off-season and all the moves that are going to be happening right now by Callum Toomey. Now, before I get into all of that and more, if you haven't already, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Again, there is a massive amount of you guys who watch the videos who aren't subscribed yet, which, you know what, it obviously hurts my feelings, but you can completely change that and make me more happy than any Zinger box could ever do. And obviously just subscribe to the channel. Again, it might not make me as happy as if KFC were to bring back the Crushers, but you know what, subscribing would still make me very happy. But I guess without further ado, let's get straight into it, with the first thing being said by Callum Toomey in an update on the Liam Baker situation, where he has reported that Fremantle have put pick number 10 on the table for Liam Baker, and that he expects West Coast to offer pick 13. This is an obvious one then. If Baker is reportedly keen for Richmond to receive the best deal possible and doesn't have a particular club that he prefers over the other, Freo it is. Again, this is pretty intriguing, because not only have Fremantle offered pick number 10 for Richmond, but it is being said here as well that Callum Toomey also believes that Shea Bolton will be at Fremantle next year, most likely in a trade for picks 9 and 16. Again, if you are Richmond and you are sitting there and you get offered pick number 9, pick number 10, and pick number 16 for Liam Baker and Shea Bolton, I think that is a fantastic situation, and I legitimately just cannot see why the Tigers would not go about doing this at all. It would be the perfect situation for Richmond. They get 3 top picks in for 2 quality players, but I'm not so sure if this is the perfect situation for Fremantle. I think trading away picks 9 and 16 for Shea Bolton is one of the best decisions they can possibly make. Again, when Shea Bolton is on, he is the best small forward in the AFL, and he was the established best small forward in the AFL only 2 years ago. Since then, he's been playing with no key forward to row from, and he just hasn't been as good. But on Fremantle, he will be a fantastic talent who will add another 40 goals to them most likely next season, while having the ability to go in the midfield and average 20 plus disposals per game if he really wants to, which is just crazy to me to think. But if I'm looking at Liam Baker, I think in today's AFL, Baker has always been a very good halfback, an okay midfielder, and a decent small forward. I think if he was to go to West Coast, he'd be able to play his more natural position of halfback, but then be able to chip in the midfield. But at Freo, he'd only be a small forward or a midfielder, and I just feel like that would waste his ability that he could go and produce at a club like, West Coast, and it just wouldn't be the best situation for Freo, where I think they should maybe use that pick to go and bring in a key defender to help to their team. So even though Liam Baker is being said that he could go for pick 10 to Fremantle, I still feel like a West Coast trade makes more sense for him, and I wouldn't be surprised if he went there for the 13th overall pick. Again, some more stuff here. It does say that Jack Graham is a 50-50 chance to go. If Mini is approached to coach for the Eagles, Graham is then out the door. Again, Mini is Andrew McQualter. I very much think he probably should be the coach of the West Coast Eagles. They, I think, are interested in Stephen King from Geelong. I'm not exactly too sure who they are going to appoint, but I genuinely do believe Andrew McQualter would be a great decision for them. And if they could bring him in, you are probably going to secure Liam Baker and Jack Graham as well. If I was the Tigers, though, I personally would let Jack Graham walk. I think he has accomplished basically everything that he can do in the yellow and black. And it's time for a fresh start for him and the club. From what early reports were saying is Richmond were going to get pick 22, a top of the end second round pick. But from what I've heard from another source is saying that Richmond might only get an end of second round pick. Either way, if I was the Tigers, I would personally still do this. Another thing is being said that Rioli has been offered a 5-year deal at Gold Coast and pick 6 will be involved in the deal. It appears unlikely that he would also get 12 we would also get 12 as well. Could be a case where offering up Rioli and a bunch of late picks 4, 6, and 20 so they can match a Lombard bid. Again, I think that's a good trade for both teams. We know Rioli wants to get to Gold Coast now, and it makes sense for them to make this situation happen. If Richmond can trade up Rioli and like 2 of their 3rd round picks and 2 of their 4th round picks, which we do know the Tigers have, and that can be used for Gold Coast, using that with their academy picks, and then Richmond can bring in 6 and 20. I think that works. I think that's fair, and I think that makes sense for both parties. So I expect that deal to get done pretty smoothly. I think that pick 12 will be involved with the John Noble trade to Collingwood. Again, Collingwood want pick 12 for John Noble. He's obviously not worth that, but Gold Coast can always say, we'll give you pick 12, but we want John Noble and your 2nd round pick this year, and maybe a future 3rd or something like that to help for their academy picks next year. That's a good trade. That makes sense, and Collingwood get to move up in the draft order as well. So it's probably a win-win for both parties there. It says here, this is the final analyst. It says that looks like Baker, Bolton, and Rioli will go, and Graham is a 50-50. This gives Richmond the following hand: picks 1, 6, 9, 10, 16, 20, 21, and 22 if Graham leaves. And all this is before potentially trading up for Brisbane's pick as well. What Tiger Ambush also forgot to mention here on this post is the 3rd and 4th round picks that the Tigers do have. Again, I assume they're going to be flicking about 3 or 4 to Gold Coast to make this happen. But Brisbane needs some picks as well. And if we only give 3 to Gold Coast, we can always go and give those 3 picks and maybe something else up to go and get Brisbane's 1st round pick, which at the time making this video was going to be like 17 or 18. This is really interesting. They can go and get that pick, move up in the draft order. I think that also makes sense, and it would be really good for the Tigers to do that. Some other things being said here by Cameron Hicks, who is actually a Richmond insider, has said that from what he believes the Tigers and the players that they actually interested in does happen to be Connor Stone, Ned McHenry, Jai Culley, Ben Hobbs, Elijah Sardis, Jack Carroll, and Alex Davies. This was obviously made, I think, literally like one day before Alex Davies was signed. I think he made another post saying he thinks he'll re-sign, and he ended up doing that, so that was pretty obvious. Jack Carroll, I really don't actually know much about. Elijah Sardis, I would very much like Richmond to go after. I think he'd be a very good option, but the thing is, Essendon are probably going to be asking for too much, and at the end of the day, if Richmond only offer a 2nd round pick, which is probably what he's worth now, Essendon have every right to decline that, considering he was a top 10 pick with all the potential in the world. So yeah, it's a tough one by the Tigers. It's kind of a similar situation with Ben Hobbs. Again, Richmond could offer up a 2nd round pick. It's what he's worth, but Essendon will probably decline that because he was a top 10 pick, and he's basically got the potential to be better than the 2nd round. But it's really a lot of ifs and buts. Jai Culley, again, I know Jai Culley personally. I went to school with Jai Culley. I was in the same class with Jai Culley. I can confirm not only is he one of the best looking blokes around, but he's also one of the nicest guys around. I don't think West Coast would get rid of him. He was literally a rising star before he did his ACL, and I know his speed is a little bit impacted, but in my opinion, I don't think he's a midfielder in the AFL. Before he was a midfielder in local league, he was a very good forward. And I know that personally because I'm pretty sure he kicked a bag on me in like year 10 footy or some shit like that, tryouts or something, I don't know. The dude is an absolute monster, and I don't even think I was playing back. I think I just ran down there to help the backs that he was killing. That's the reality of how good this guy literally is, and I think he should be a forward in the league. Richmond are looking for those taller, high half forwards. I think Jai Culley would make sense, and he can still pinch hit in the midfield. And then again, Ned McHenry and Connor Stone, I really don't know much about, or as much as I probably should know. So I won't speak exactly too much on them. Again, Cameron Hicks also did say that Richmond are one of the clubs interested in James Peatling. They have met with him. Well, Tom Morris said that GWS had been confident this time last week James Peatling would sign a fresh 3-year deal, but he still may, but he did spend Sunday and yesterday in Melbourne meeting with Victorian clubs. So obviously Richmond were one of those Victorian clubs he did meet with. I do expect him to sign on like a 3-year deal with GWS. He's from Greater Western Sydney, but he's a really good young player that the Tigers should definitely go and look at. The thing is, I wouldn't be surprised if he's met with like St Kilda, Collingwood and Hawthorn as well, who are also trying to bring in some good midfield talent. But of course, if you haven't already, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Comment all of your thoughts and opinions on all of the latest AFL news and more that I've talked about in today's video. I'd very much like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions on all the latest Richmond trade news and updates. Go subscribe to my gaming channel and my IRL/vlogging channels. Links for them will be in the description down below. But as I was saying, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.